Okay, so you want to run a coffee farm. You walk between long rows of green trees and pull back a branch. It is covered in coffee cherries. Some are deep red, some are yellow, some are still hard and green. From a distance, the farm looks full of finished product. Up close, the crop is arguing with your schedule. Fruit on the same tree does not ripen all at once. The field can look loaded while only part of it is ready to pick. And the moment fruit is ready, weather, labor, processing, drying space, and the buyer all begin fighting over what happens next. That is the puzzle of the coffee farm. You appear to control the land, the trees, the crew, and the crop. But practical control keeps moving to the next bottleneck. So where does the money actually come from? And why can a beautiful harvest still leave the owner with almost nothing? First, decide what you actually own. Coffee farms do not all begin with the same land arrangement. The land may be owned, rented, sharecropped, communal, or used under another local structure. The total farm may also include land not planted with coffee. That matters because a farm is not simply acres times price. Land access, planted area, tree condition, water, roads, processing equipment, storage, transport, and credit all change the economics before one cherry reaches a basket. Then choose how far through the chain you want to go. You can harvest and sell the cherries quickly to somebody else for processing. That reduces your post-harvest control and equipment needs. Or you can keep the crop longer, pulp it, ferment, and wash it where the method requires, dry it, hull it, sort it, store it, and sell a later form of coffee. More control can create more value. It also creates more places to ruin the coffee. And it changes what you have to own or rent. On-farm processing can require mills, dryers, storage, water systems, and transport equipment. Those are capital assets, not just bags of seasonal supplies. A machine may serve several harvests, but the money to obtain, finance, maintain, and eventually replace, it still belongs in the farm's economics. This is why two farmers selling coffee can run businesses with completely different cost structures. One sells fruit quickly. The other carries equipment, quality risk, and inventory for much longer in exchange for the chance to sell a more processed product. For this season, you keep processing on the farm. Now the farm starts spending months before it earns. The trees need pruning, fertilizer, pest and disease control, and water where irrigation is used. Equipment needs fuel and repair. Workers may clear, maintain, harvest, process, sort, and move the crop. Some labor is paid. Some may come from the family and never appear as a cash wage, even though the work is real. That last part can make a weak farm look healthier than it is. If family members work hundreds of hours without pay, the bank account may survive, while the household quietly supplies the missing profit. The International Coffee Organization's cost framework therefore separates paid labor, unpaid labor, inputs, equipment, credit, transport, land use, and other costs. A farm that covers today's cash bills can still fail to cover depreciation, finance, or the value of the owner's land and time. Short-term survival and long-term profit are not the same thing. Now the harvest begins. You send the crew into the rows. They select ripe cherries and leave the green ones for another pass. Sounds inefficient. Why not strip everything at once and save labor? Because unripe and overripe fruit can complicate processing and grading. More weight in the basket does not automatically become more coffee the buyer wants. And labor is not a small side cost. In one study of Arabica farms across 4 Mexican states, labor averaged 68% of measured production costs. Harvest labor alone averaged 48%. Nearly half the measured cost was concentrated in the act of getting fruit off the trees. So every extra pass may improve selection while adding labor. Every faster harvest may reduce labor while mixing maturity. The field gives you a trade-off, not a free answer. Then the cherries leave the branch, and the clock speeds up. Fresh coffee fruit should move into processing quickly. In a washed process, cherries may be sorted, pulped, fermented, washed, and dried. Other methods follow different paths, but every method has a limited amount it can handle. Say your crew can pick 10 loads today. Your pulper can handle 8. Your drying space can safely carry 6. How much should the crew pick? 10 feels productive. 6 may be the amount your farm can protect. The field is the largest object you can see. The smallest step downstream can control it. This is the first hidden mechanism. Farm capacity is not what the trees can produce. It is what the entire chain can carry without damaging the coffee. A narrow drying yard can slow dozens of pickers. One broken machine can leave ripe fruit waiting. Several wet days can turn yesterday's perfect harvest plan into a traffic jam made of cherries. You can buy more drying capacity, of course. But that creates a second question. Will the extra capacity be used enough to justify its cost? A dryer sized for the worst week may sit partly idle during ordinary weeks. A cheap system sized for ordinary weather may fail exactly when the harvest needs it most. The bottleneck can be removed. It sends a capital bill on the way out. And unlike a factory, the crop does not pause while you fix the schedule. The fruit keeps ripening. Rain keeps falling. Workers may not be available next week. Biology does not read your spreadsheet, so you begin planning backward. How much can dry today? How much can be processed before that? How much should be picked to feed those steps? The answer may be smaller than the visible crop. That can feel like failure even when it protects more valuable coffee. Now suppose you get through processing. You're still not holding guaranteed revenue. Dried coffee has to be protected from moisture, contamination, and damage in storage and transport. High humidity can make it absorb water again. Temperature changes during shipment can create condensation. A lot can survive the tree, harvest, and drying yard, then lose condition in a warehouse or truck. Finally, the buyer inspects what arrived. Physical defects matter. Moisture matters. Odor matters. Depending on the sale, cup quality, certification, origin, and other characteristics may matter too. The buyer does not pay for how exhausted you were. The buyer pays for the coffee accepted under the deal. That gives you 3 different harvest numbers. Everything picked. Everything that remains saleable after processing and sorting. And the amount accepted in each category at each realized price. Those numbers can be very different. A heavy harvest can create a disappointing saleable lot. A smaller, carefully handled harvest can put more coffee into the category the buyer values. So total yield is not enough. Quality is not enough. Price is not enough. The useful number is saleable yield at the price you actually receive. The agreement matters as much as the sample. Coffee contracts can specify quality, quantity, price, or price differential, delivery, and other terms. A high-quality lot delivered late or in the wrong condition may not receive the outcome you imagined. A verbal promise from a visiting buyer is not the same asset as an enforceable sale. So part of operating the farm is commercial, not agricultural, knowing what you promised, what the buyer will measure, and when responsibility changes hands. Here is where the owner gets fooled. A buyer offers a premium for coffee meeting a quality or certification standard. You multiply that premium by the whole crop and start spending money in your head. But the premium only applies to the portion that qualifies and is sold under those terms. The rest may enter another category at another price. The best price on the farm can be completely real and still describe only a thin slice of the harvest. All right, now put the system under pressure. Wet weather cuts your drying capacity. Ripe cherries are still appearing. The picking crew is ready. You're tempted to maintain the original pace because every cherry left on the tree feels like money you are abandoning. If you keep picking at full speed, extra fruit waits wet and crowded. The condition of coffee already in the process may deteriorate. If you slow down, some ripe fruit remains exposed in the field and workers may receive fewer hours. There is no perfect choice. You're choosing where the loss lands. So you send the crew to the most urgent rows. You protect the coffee already moving through processing. You let the drying bottleneck control today's harvest. On the field report, productivity falls. At the final sale, more coffee may survive in a valuable category. That is the strange economics of farming. Sometimes collecting less today protects more revenue later. Eventually, the buyer accepts the lots and payment arrives. Can you pay yourself? Not from the headline price alone. First, the sale has to cover labor, inputs, processing, storage, transport, equipment, credit, and the costs required to keep the farm productive. Then you have to think about the period before the next harvest. Coffee income can arrive seasonally. Farm expenses do not politely disappear when the truck leaves. If money remains, part may still need to fund pruning, plant renovation, equipment, or the next cycle's working cash. Only the true remainder is owner return. Now add the owner's unpaid time. If the farm pays every outside bill but rewards your own labor with less than you could earn elsewhere, it may be cash positive and still be a poor long-term investment. If it cannot replace equipment or renovate the productive base, this year's profit may be borrowed from future harvests. A strong farm has to do more than survive the season. Over time, it has to pay for the people, land, machines, and biological renewal that make another season possible. This is why 2 farms can receive the same price and end in completely different places. Their land arrangements, yields, labor needs, quality losses, processing choices, and costs are different. Now look again at the bright cherries on the branch. They are not finished inventory. They are candidates. Each one still has to survive timing, labor, processing, drying, storage, grading a buyer, and the farm's cost line. The farm does not pay you for everything it grows. It pays you from what the whole system manages to sell.